last season in Mile High. You don't know which one he is I was talking to. Russell Wilson says he hopes to spend the rest of his career with the Broncos, Shannon's former team. Wilson, who was benched for the final 2 games last season, despite being told to sit down, says he still hopes to make amends in Denver. Listen up, guys.
Let's stop right there. What I've seen from Sean Payton is that he really don't want Russell. I mean, the way, just look how he interacts and all that, he really doesn't want him. But let's listen to the video.
I got more fire than ever, honestly, especially over the past 2 years of what I've gone through. Whether if it's in Denver or somewhere else, I hope it's in Denver. I committed there, I wanted to be there, I want to be there. For me, it's about winning. Over the next 5 years, I want to win 2. I want to feel the chill of that trophy again. I want to win more Super Bowls there. I love the city and everything else, but you also want to be a place that wants you too.
We bring in our quarterback, Tim Hasselbeck. Tim, fantastic to see you. It has been a minute. Thank you so much for joining us. But I'm going to start with Shannon here, because this is his old stomping grounds. Shay, will Russell Wilson be a starter next season in the NFL? What's the deal here?
Look, obviously we know the teams, Stephen A. and Tim, that has starting quarterbacks that he's not a viable option, like the Kansas City, the Cincinnatis, the Chargers, and things of that nature. But are you telling me that they're not at least 10 teams that Russell isn't currently better? The Steelers. Yes. Are you trying to tell me he's not better than what you have right now?
Of course.
It's hard for me to believe that the Raiders, is he not better than what's in Las Vegas right now? So I believe he can. And look, even if he's not a starter, he's probably an injury away from being a starter on a lot of teams that maybe has a good quarterback. Look, I don't believe Russ is going to be back. I don't think he and Sean Payton ever meshed. I think Sean Payton came in and heard some of the things that were going on in Denver, and he held that against him. Because a lot of times you say, okay, you get a clean slate, Stephen A. You get a new boss, and whatever they may have heard about us, we get a clean slate. I don't believe Sean Payton ever gave Russ that clean slate, and maybe he rubbed some people the wrong way.
Right.
But I don't believe Russ is going to be in Denver next year. And biggest win that the Broncos have had since they last won the Super Bowl, you asked the man to take a pay cut, and you thought he was going to be okay with that? You could have asked him at the beginning of the season. You could have asked him at any other point other than when you asked him. But you asked him after the biggest win since they last won the Super Bowl.
They beat Kansas City.
They beat Kansas City. And you asked the man, do you know how hard it is? And I don't think Russ at that point had ever lost a road game in the AFC West. So Denver did something that no other team had done up until that point. And then you asked him to take a pay cut and thought he was going to be okay with that. I do believe he'll be a starter next season, because I believe there are some teams. I don't know what the Falcons are going to do. Maybe the Falcons make a trade for Justin Fields. Maybe they go get a quarterback in the draft. I don't know. But I think he's better than what they have in Atlanta right now.
No question.
There's no question in my mind he's better than what they have in Atlanta. So I do believe he'll be a starting quarterback. I don't believe it'll be in Denver, though.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, Shannon, look, I agree. I don't think there's any doubt that he's one of the best 32 quarterbacks on the planet.
Absolutely.
I think that, in fairness to Russ, look, he didn't play as poorly last year as I think people are maybe portraying him to have played. I think here's where the rub is. He's made $266 million playing football, and he's due to make another $39 million this year to do nothing. So he's going to end up making, playing football, nearly $300 million by changing nothing if the Broncos end up cutting him. And why I say that, just for perspective, that will be the 4th most in terms of career earnings ever in the history of the National Football League. So I say that to say, why would Russell Wilson go to a place without the financial guarantee and security that the minute something goes poorly, that the team won't turn their back on him? And I just don't know that Pittsburgh is the spot to say, hey, we have totally turned the page on Kenny Pickett. You are the anointed starter right when you come in here. I just think there's so much risk for Russell Wilson to say, yeah, go ahead and pay me league minimum. And if things go poorly, you can just go ahead and turn on me. That's the part that I don't know. And I'm not questioning whether or not he loves football. I think he clearly loves football.
Right.
But the amount of humble pie and risk there, I just don't know that he'll go through it.
Well, let me say this. Let me tell you where I'm at, Tim and Shannon, because you guys know better than me. I'm just going to give you, that scribe opinion covering the media, being in the media for 30 years. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Russell Wilson clearly is one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the National Football League. Clearly, there are several teams that he can start from. We sit up there and we throw shade on him. I will remind everybody he threw for 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I will remind everybody he's a Super Bowl champion, made 2 Super Bowl appearances, even though that play should have never been called, should have been given the beast mode at the half-yard line. Don't get me started with that. To me, that was the end of the Legion of Boom and everything that was going on in Seattle. I can't believe that Darry Bevel and Pete Carroll okayed that, even though some people say he audibled and Russell Wilson made that call. I will say this to you guys. The man has never thrown more than 13 interceptions in the season. And he only did that once.
Right.
Every other season he's been in the NFL, Tim, Shannon, it's been 11 or less. The man doesn't turn the ball over much. So now I get where you're coming from, Tim, with the money, and I totally understand that, right? But what I'm saying to you is if you're Russell Wilson, you are a champion. If you still believe in yourself, you can't worry about what Tim just highlighted. I'm not saying you're wrong, Tim, by any stretch. I'm saying he can't be worried about that. You can ball or you can't. And when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, their roster ain't shabby. You got running backs, you got wide receivers, you got Frymouth at the tight end spot. On the defensive side of the ball, T.J. Watt's healthy, Fitzpatrick and those boys ready to roll. You got a team. They were in the playoffs this year. Right. With Kenny Pickett as their quarterback, with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback, okay? I'm looking at it from this perspective. If you got a guy like a Russell Wilson, who's not going to turn the football over, who still has the ability to extend plays, who can throw with accuracy, particularly with the deep ball. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, look, man, beggars can't be choosy. Look at what the hell you had. Look at what you've been working with. I mean, we can't be too picky here, okay? Now, do I think that Russell Wilson is the best thing since sliced bread with all the great quarterbacks in the National Football League right now, particularly in the NFC? No. But when I think about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm thinking about Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, within your division, you cannot go into next season with Kenny Pickett locked, zeroed in as your likely starter. That just cannot happen. Me personally, it's a Justin Fields, it's a Kirk Cousins, it's a Russell Wilson. Right. Any of the three, and we know how I've critiqued the Kirk Cousins in the postseason. But damn it, I throw a parade for them. I throw a compared to what they got. Give me any of the three. Any of the three. You can't be choosy. And if you're Russell Wilson, to get back to the point with him that you was making, all I'm saying is this. Yeah, you made your money. But you're a champion. And there were people that were chirping about you for years. You go to Denver, and let's not completely absolve him. You know this. He went to Denver, and he was kind of feeling himself. Yes. And he was playing by his own rule. I'm just telling you what the reports say, Tim. I don't cover the Denver Broncos. Please don't hold it against me. But when you listen to the reports, they were saying he arrived. He got the big contract. He got the bag. He came there as a Super Bowl champion. He was really feeling himself, and the rules were different for him. And then suddenly, after Nathaniel Hackett is booted out and Sean Payton comes up in there, he let you know it was a new day. So I get it. I understand it. But if you're Russell Wilson, you got to show up someplace and you can't be thinking about how your legacy might look or whatever. Hell with that. It don't look great now. Right. It don't look great now.
It doesn't look great now, but listen, it could actually end up looking worse because it could happen a second time. And you don't have the ability to say, like, hey, this team's not going to sit there and be like, no, we can't. Let's let him play through it. That's what I'm saying. And listen, he's tasted the sweet life, Stephen A. Like, you lined it out. Like, he was playing by different rules. Like Shannon knows it. Some guys, man, they get 2 lockers. Some guys get guys get an office.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Let me tell you something. Hey, league minimum guys don't get that. League minimum guys don't get that leash. What I am saying is the risk is so significant because, look, he could sign somewhere, go through everything, go through camp, go through everything, 3 weeks in playing poorly, say he's in Pittsburgh. Now we're going back to Pickett. Right. Like that could happen. And it gives you a little perspective. Carson Wentz, who hasn't accomplished anything close to what Russell Wilson has. He's made $150 million playing football. Look, he was like, no, man, I'm going to wait until I see a better situation. And he didn't even sign anywhere until week 10, even though other teams did want to bring him in. So I just, like, the mindset changes at this point for Russell Wilson.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Some good valid points were made in this debate. My opinion, Pittsburgh should go for Wilson. I think they're going to go for Fields, which makes sense. I think they can get Fields cheaper. But I think Wilson, giving them two receivers that Pittsburgh has, will be very, very good for Wilson. Sort of like what he had in Seattle, a good running game, two explosive receivers on the outside, and a very good tight end. I think that fits Wilson perfectly. Pittsburgh is going to expect immediate results. Russell know he has to provide immediate results, but Hasselbeck made some good points. Why put yourself out there like that? You never know what's going to happen. But in my opinion, Pittsburgh is the place to be for Russell Wilson.